104.9 Coyote Country. Good morning. I'm Robert McGill. I got a special guest on the phone, Mr. William Wren from the McDonald Observatory. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Now, what is your official title? I'm sorry if I screwed that up. I don't know if you're a astronomer or a physicist. What is your official title over there at UT?
My official title is Special Assistant to the Superintendent.
Aha!
I'm
right.
Special.
Yeah, are we all, though? I really appreciate you taking the time to check in with us. We got a big event this Saturday that you're involved in, the big third annual STEAM Expo at the Progreso Memorial Library. It's going to be a fantastic event. But I want to talk about you and first of all, who you are. Again, it's Mr. William Wren from the McDonald Observatory at the University of Texas at Austin. Now, tell me, for those of us who don't know, what exactly is the McDonald Observatory?
McDonald Observatory is about a 500-acre satellite campus of the University of Texas at Austin. It is a world-class astronomical research facility that was established in the heart of the Davis Mountains out in far west Texas. About 6 hours west of San Antonio. Get on Interstate 10 and take a left at Balmorhea and drive up into the mountains, and you'll find us. We've been there since 1932. The second largest telescope in the world in 1939 was dedicated at McDonald Observatory. In fact, it was May 5th, 1939, so we're coming up on an 80-year anniversary. We're having a big celebration out there, yeah. And today we have what is the second largest telescope in the world.
I know they all have names. What is that one called?
Yeah, that one is called the HET. That's short for the Hobby Eberly Telescope.
Wow, fantastic. So your job, among others, I'm sure, is just to look into the stars and try to find, new life, a new civilization, in the words of Captain Kirk.
Yeah, I wish I had the toys he had to play with, but we have time machines of sorts. A big telescope can see really, really far away, and on cosmic scales, that means really far into the past. So with that big 10-meter Hobby Eberly telescope, we're looking at objects out toward the edge of the observable universe, some 12, 13 billion light years away, which means we're looking 12 to 13 billion years into the past, back when the universe was still very young.
I'm looking on the website, and it looks like you guys are involved in construction of this new one, the Giant Magellan Telescope. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a huge project. It'll be the largest telescope in the world when it goes into service. We're thinking about 2024 right now, I believe. It is a $1 billion project. We are one of 10 founding partners who each ponied up $100 million to participate. But, it's under construction in Chile, in the Atacama Desert, where there's just incredible conditions for an astronomical observatory. It's very high. It's very dry. It hardly sees any rainfall at all. The skies are almost always clear. It's well away from any light pollution, so the skies are incredibly dark. And being in the Chilean Andes along the Pacific coast there, it gets this really nice laminar flow of air coming off the Pacific Ocean. So the stars are very steady. They don't appear to twinkle hardly at all from that location. It's just an ideal spot to put a big telescope.
I can just tell by the description, the words you use, that you are still so enamored with your job, and that's just wonderful to hear. I mean, you can just sense the excitement, stargazing, and what a cool job you've got. I was reading something else on the website. Yeah, I was reading something else on the website, which is very interesting to me. You had a little information on, I think it was like light pollution. Can you speak on that a little bit? Because that is something fascinating that I think that people don't think about.
Yeah, it's something that doesn't really occur to a lot of people. It's just basically coming from the electric light bulb. It's a very recent phenomenon. It's a very recent development since the invention of the electric light. Let's see, Thomas Edison is to blame for that back in 1878. And over the past 140 years or so, the skies have just gotten brighter and brighter and brighter around our major population centers, and making it harder and harder to see the stars at night. The joy of it is that it's something that can be solved. I suppose, if you can find the plug to kick out and just turn out all the lights, that'd be one way of going about it. You'd see the Milky Way overhead from downtown San Antonio, but that's not a reasonable approach. What works best, really, the whole effort to try and combat light pollution is not about dark ground. It's about dark skies. All we're trying to do is light our nighttime activities,
right,
our property, our homes, our businesses, our sporting events, all of that. Just use lighting in such a way that it's directed down to the ground and not allowed to trespass onto neighboring properties and into the sky. If everybody would simply keep their own light on their own property, the problem would go away.
I think a really the point that really stood out to me in reading just a little bit I did on the website was that it spoke of how there's this current generation, is going all their life without seeing a truly, dark sky, seeing the stars in their lifetime, because all they see is that the lights, at night, there's so much light that they encounter that they might never actually see the true stars. That's crazy.
Yeah, the places you can go to see an actually dark nighttime sky are shrinking and becoming fewer and farther between. You gotta go a long way to get to a really, really dark spot. We're fortunate out in West Texas to be pretty much in the middle of nowhere. Our only concern is the oil and gas related activity and all the commerce that comes along with that, with the oil and gas boom in and around the Permian Basin. It's starting to light up our northern horizon a little bit, as seen from the observatory, but the skies overhead are still incredibly dark.
Well, as I say, the stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas. So
there you go.
Obviously, we've got some good stargazing areas out here. Now, have you been to Uvalde before? Is there any primo spot that you can suggest to our Uvalde listeners where to go to check out the stars at night?
Well, I have been to Uvalde before. Maybe 10 years ago, I was there and spoke to a group. However, I don't know the area that well. Mm-hmm. I know that you wouldn't have to just go away from San Antonio. I think would be the opposite direction from San Antonio, because that's going to be the biggest population center and where you're going to have the most light pollution. So I'm guessing just kind of head west, and you'll within a half hour to an hour or so, you should find yourself in a location far enough away from Uvalde that you'll be able to enjoy a really dark sky.
Well, again, we're talking to Mr. William Wren from the McDonald Observatory, and hadn't been here in Uvalde for 10 years, but you're coming this weekend, Saturday, the 3rd annual STEAM Expo. Let's go on and get right into this. For those who are planning to attend, obviously a great opportunity for parents and kids, students, maybe even teachers. What exactly can we expect from what you are doing, Mr. Wren?
Well, I've been asked to do a keynote presentation at an event on Friday night. I don't really have a whole lot of information about that event, really, but I'll be there with my thumb drive and my PowerPoint presentation ready to talk about astronomy and McDonald Observatory and what you can see from a dark sky and what you can do to help keep the skies dark where you live. And then I'll be at the expo on Saturday to do some lighting demonstrations to show what good lighting looks like compared to not so good lighting, and answer any questions that people may have. I'm really looking forward to it.
Now, we've got some parents and kids on the way to school right now. For the kids listening who want to get, their first telescope, they want to get involved and check out, the sky at night. You got a starter pack, some suggestions for parents on what to do to get their kids engaged and involved in astronomy?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not hard to get kids interested in astronomy, outer space and all that. It's intuitively just really interesting to kids. So I mean, we think astronomy is just an excellent vehicle for science education in this country because there are so many different engineering fields that come together. But I mean, the really kind of the first thing is, do you have access to a dark sky, or would you be observing from a suburban location where the sky may be not so dark? You know, you can see a lot just with the naked eye under a really dark sky. If you're city bound, then just a pair of binoculars on a tripod would probably be a real good place to start. You can see the craters and mountains on the moon. The moons around Jupiter are visible through a good pair of binoculars. And then, you know, if you decide you want to see more, then you can start shopping for a telescope. I would stay away from department store telescopes that advertise, you know, magnifies 800x or something like that. That's not really a good measure of the quality of a telescope. Really, probably the best thing to do for a parent shopping for a first-time telescope would be to go online and do a search on the internet for shopping for a first-time telescope. Okay. Because there are a number of questions that you need to consider before you decide, you know, where to invest your money. You know, you can go with a whiz-bang computerized telescope, or you could take the money that goes into the computerization and get a better quality optical telescope, better optics for your telescope. There's just a number of things to consider depending on what it is that you want to see and what kind of skies you have access to.
One final question. What is the most glorious celestial, you know, being thing that you've seen through the lens? Something that just knocked you off your socks?
Oh, golly. I think I would have to say the rings around Saturn is a real sock knocker.
Wow.
I mean, it's hard to beat. I mean, Saturn looks like a planet should look. You know, it's just absolutely spectacular. And you don't need a dark sky to see Saturn through a telescope. You can see it, you know, it's bright enough to be visible from an urban area. So that's a real treat. There are beautiful star clusters where you do need a dark sky, and nebula, star formation regions, big clouds of gas, and other galaxies beyond the Milky Way that you can see through a small telescope. But Saturn probably, hands down, has got to be the best sock knocker that I've seen.
Well, again, Mr. William Wren, we thank you for checking in to tell us all about what that's some fascinating stuff. Makes me want to go, like I said, watch some Star Trek again. But we're looking forward to the events again Friday and Saturday, the STEAM Expo at the Progreso Memorial Library. Where can we find more about you and your program and everything about the McDonald Observatory?
Yes, sir. I mean, you're looking at the website, McDonaldObservatory.org, McDonaldObservatory.org, and you should just come see us. Like I said, get on I-10, head west about 6 hours, take a left at Balmorhea. Can't miss it. It's in the middle of nowhere, but we have guided tours of the big research facilities every day, twice a day at 11 and 2, and then public star parties where we set up big telescopes for you to look through with your eyeballs 3 nights a week, every Tuesday, Friday, and Saturday, year-round. So we encourage everyone, please come and see us.
Well, again, that's McDonaldObservatory.org, and, of course, they've got all kinds of details about the programs and some suggestions on, travel plans if you're making the trip out from Uvalde as well. So, Mr. William Wren, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you this weekend, okay?
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
104.9
Coyote Country.
Real Country with Robert Miguel.